packaging challenges. First of all, may I have the honor to invite our moderator, Ms. Karen Ho, Head of Corporate and Community Sustainability at WWF-Hong Kong, to present on stage for the panel discussion. Let me pass the floor to you, Ms. Ho.
Thank you. So it's me again. You so far heard the speaking from an NGO, and then you already heard from the Mills an independent report. Now I want to invite some industry participant practitioners to share their views so that you have a more thorough angles on different participants in the supply chain and how they deal with the challenge. So before we really sit down and discuss the issues, I'd just like to invite Mr. Ken Nam of G-Locs, which is a packaging supplier, to talk about from their perspective what the challenges are and then what the solutions they offered. So Ken, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today, my name is Ken, and I'm working as the director of G-Locs Group. Sorry, my voice is not very good today. So before I start, I would like to briefly introduce my company background. G-Locs is a Hong Kong company. We are a sustainable packaging company with over 10 factories in 7 different countries. Over the last 20 years, we have been the major sustainable packaging partner of some leading fashion brands, including Inditex and H&M. So today I'm here to try to share some of my experience and also some industrial insights to all of you. And I hope you find it interesting and informative. So today I have a question to all of you. That is, do you know why environmental sustainability become a very hit topic ever since like 3-4 years ago? Because as we all know that environmental protection is not a new topic, right? We heard about it like when we were a little kid. But all of a sudden, around 3 or 4 years ago, everyone around us, our customers, our suppliers, everyone is talking about recycling, no plastic, right? So this is, I have these questions all the time in my mind. So in the last few years, when I visit buying office, retailers, fashion designers, and garment manufacturers, I ask them the same question. Do you have any idea why? Why everyone is talking about sustainability almost overnight? And obviously, I'm very surprisingly find out that most people don't know why. Because media, because the government told us to do so, or what? Like, nobody can give me the same answer. So I start to dig deeper and deeper. I have spent like almost 200 hours to search on the internet and read a lot of articles. And here's my finding. What's the reason why? Actually, maybe some of you don't know that. Actually, the whole recycling industry we have been relying on China. Let me tell you a number. In the last 20 years, the whole world is exporting our garbage to China, and the percentage is really high. For example, in European Union, 95% of the plastic trash was shipped to China and being shot out and then melt and reproduced in new products. In USA, the number is 70%. So imagine we are such highly rely on China to deal with our recycling. This is a picture showing how Chinese workers are recycling our waste products in China. But of course, this creates a lot of environmental problems. This is a more precise number. USA is shipping plastic trash to China. Every year, they're shipping over 150,000 containers of plastic trash to China for recycling. And in every day, it's about over 400 containers every day. But something happened in the 1st of January in 2018. Something really important happened in our industry, and it affects the whole world. That is back to the 1st of January in 2018, China announced a big decision to the WTO. That is, China decided to say no to the foreign garbage. And this is a number showing how it seriously affected the whole world's recycling industry. As you can see, by the end of 2018, China's import of plastic trash significantly dropped 98.9%, almost 99%. And the effect is very seriously affect the whole world's recycling industry. Please take a look at the Forbes and also the Wall Street Journal. The mainstream media in the Western world, definitely, they also have a high concern about this product. Everyone realizes this is a big problem, but what would be the alternative solution? Obviously, if we decided to build a landfill for the trash in Western country, it is obviously not workable because of considering the complete environmental protection law in Western country, right? Imagine if our government decided to plan a landfill, garbage field on our backyards. Definitely in Hong Kong, right? Hong Kong people definitely will go to protest. And the same thing happened in the Western country. So let's take a look in UK. The British government, after failed to ship the products to China anymore, they decided to ship their products to Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian countries. Here is we can also see Netherlands and Hong Kong, but Amsterdam and Hong Kong both are the transit port. So finally, the plastic trash we create every day, they are all finally shot and sent to Malaysia, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian countries. And here's a number quite interesting I found out. Maybe all of you have no idea, only 9% of the plastic trash we create in our industry are finally being recycled. And 12% of them are finally being burned. And unfortunately, almost 80% of our plastic trash were finally buried in the landfills or simply just dumped and washed into the river and the oceans. So finally, the packaging we're using every day, they finally was washed and brought to the natural environment, and it creates a global crisis of environmental pollution. So under such a big background, some industrial leaders, including French President Mr. Emmanuel Macron, and also the Kering chairman and CEO, these two gentlemen, they start the Fraction Pact. I don't know if some of you may have already heard of Fraction Pact before, but I would like to briefly talk about Fraction Pact, because Fraction Pact is, I think it's very highly related to our industry. I'm sure many of you heard about the other big companies in our industry. They're all talking about stop global warming, which is one of the main topics in Fraction Pact. The other one is about restore the biodiversity, which is also, you can say, in other words, protecting the animals and species in our planet. And also, we will also like to protect the oceans. These are all three main topics in the Fraction Pact. And soon after the Fraction Pact was launched, you can see more and more big brands, including Adidas, Nike, these kind of leading brands, they also joined the Fraction Pact. When the CEOs put their signature on the Fraction Pact, then naturally, the rest of the team were given a mission, a very specific mission and target to achieve on the circumstances of the Fraction Pact. So here is some of the packaging we are seeing or we are using every day. For example, retail bags. I'm sure retail bags is one of the most biggest number we create in fashion industry, right? For example, when we go to a shop, we will be given no matter whether a poly bag or paper shopping bag, but we are creating millions of bags every day in the world. And secondly, we also use lots of text and labels. They also are rPET-made plastic products. And it looks like in the short term, it is unavoidable Also, we are using a lot of e-commerce mailing bags. Every time when we click a button on our mouse to place an online order, we also create a delivery bag. And this bag, most of the time, they are biodegradable, right? And we also use a lot of hangers in the shops. And this is also one of the main source of the one of the main source of plastic products we create in our industry. And lastly, maybe some of you noticed that, but I'm sure many of the consumers didn't realize that, because the last one is B2B transport bags. That means when the factory produces a product, we need a poly bag to protect the goods, right? To pack the goods inside and then ship to the customer's warehouse or to the retail store. But consumers, they don't have a chance to touch this bag. But actually, we are creating and consuming millions of bags every day. So luckily, after the fashion period was signed, lots of big companies, they decided to do something real. And H&M and Inditex, definitely they are the two leading companies in fashion industry. So H&M and Zara, they are the first two companies to decide to change all their to change their polyester woven label and care label into 100% recycled GRS certified content. And Zara is also the first company to decide to use, to get rid of plastic and to try to use as much as FSC certified paper products in their packaging. Another customer, Gap also started to change all their online ordering back. Every year they use around 200 million pieces of online ordering bags, and now this company already changed from virgin plastic LDPE polybag to recycled polybags. And I'm also very happy to see Burberry. Burberry has a very innovative action against the overuse plastic. Burberry is one of the companies who decided to remove the plastic lamination on each single shopping bag. I think this is a very big step to show to the other brands. And also, Burberry also used 40% recycled coffee cups to encourage more recycling in the industry. And Adidas is also one of the leading companies in our industry. Adidas gave a target to all the suppliers that they need to change all the polybags by end of 2024 and to use only 100% recycled content. I think this gives a very big signal to the whole supply chain. So if you don't take action to use more and more recycled materials, you will be out of the supply chain. So I think this is definitely a big step and good news for the industry. Here I would like to share a quite innovative packaging from one of our customers. This is a company. They're mainly doing sportswear. They supply sportswear and team shirts to many international schools across Asia and Europe. And this company, they just like the others, they pack their garments in a transparent poly bag. But this bag is slightly different than the others because this bag is water soluble. Water soluble means that once, if you remember, right, 80% of our packaging will finally end up in the ocean or rivers in the Southeast Asian countries. So imagine when these polybags end up in the nature, it can be digested by the fish and the sea animals, which is at least something we can do for our nature environment, right? And so I wish more and more companies would like to try more sustainable packaging in the industry, just like Tsunami Sport. We also mentioned about plastic hangers, because this is something unavoidable in our industry. But is that really unavoidable? I think Zara did a very good example. Zara is one of the first companies to collect their broken hangers in the store, and then we make them into plastic seals, which we use to hang the hang tags. So I think this is also a very good idea. I wish we can tell this kind of story to more of of our customers or our suppliers. So the whole supply chain also follow some good examples to do, and give some effort in the packaging. And also, I also realized that more and more brands, they start to use paper hangers to replace plastic hangers, because we all know that paper hangers is fully biodegradable, and also it's a nature content. So I think this is also a good idea that like big companies and retailers can try to think, is it possible to use more paper hanger instead of plastic hangers? And finally, I would like to share some of the most popular options in the market. Actually, this chart is created by my team. In the last 3 years, we have reached over 100 buyers, fashion retailers, fashion designers, and they all ask very similar questions. For example, what is the most popular option in the market? For example, 100% recycled polybag or biodegradable polybag with some additive inside, or cornstarch-based PLA polybag or water-soluble polybag. So when we offer this kind of different alternative packaging options to the customers, they have very similar questions. For example, they will ask me, Ken, what kind of material it is, right? What kind of materials? And are these options really biodegradable? Are they able to dissolve in the water? Or what is the biodegradation condition? And how long it will biodegrade? For example, 6 months, 6 years, or 600 years. And also, what kind of supporting document or test report you have to support? And also, are they friendly to the environment? And what is the advantage and disadvantage against the others? So only this chart, there are so many technical details, and this is only a small part of the whole solution. So since I'm only given like very short time on the stage, so I would like to please feel free to take a picture, and then you can, through this QR code, you can browse the website, and our global sales team are ready to support you and answer your questions. But more importantly, I wish my sharing can bring more people's awareness in sustainability, and by working together, we can, let more different companies in our industry to also join the sustainability road. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for very comprehensive information from a packaging supplier standpoint. And then the next one, I would like to invite Peter Tsang to share some of his frustrations when dealing with the brands, as well as being a very conscientious suppliers in the supply chain. I understand that he always likes to reduce kind of materials or costs, because it's really a tough time for all the industries. So let's invite Peter to share some of his views, and then after that we'll have a group discussions. Thank you, Peter.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Peter. I think I'm a familiar face with some of you. Ourselves is a more than 30 years company. We start from a manufacturing. Right now, we quite focused on the digitalization process of the supply chain. So I think I have to refresh a little bit about the keywords about sustainability, because my colleagues is asking me what it means. So the combination is profit, planet, and people. So for my role as a businessman, we still need to encourage the GDP, right? So a little bit focus is more on quite greedy, profit as a balance. Because at the end, all the brand and all the retailers, they also need the profit to sustain. Or I can say, use the word reward better. So promotion. So there's a little case. For me, I'm a little bit different. We try to save. I remember some years ago when we talk about recycle the 3R, there is a recycle, the 3R, recycle, reduce, and reduce, recycle, and reuse, right? Then another my son just mentioned to me replace. How about we consider don't use it? So this is one case. I think everybody, using spare button. But very good. I proposed this to one of my clients 2 years ago, and very good. We saved the spare button because I don't think we use that much of spare button. Do you? Do you discover that there is also spare button? But a few years ago, even worse, because the case they put poly back to attach it together. So, but I try to reduce it to talk to our client by doing a survey. Everyone, did you use your spare button? And we also explain to why we have the spare button. Maybe some people like me may understand, but I'm not sure if this is whether the case why we have the spare button. If you are old enough, like my age, did you experience some loose button? Yes. Why? Because it's the attaching machine, the old machine, 373, 375 Juki, they don't have lock stitch. So later on, they have the lock stitch machine we can consider, but we didn't change. We just following to provide the spare button. What we did, we had one of our clients, they reduced the spare button for that year, 600K pieces, and we calculate 14,000 US dollar, and then with the poly back 5,000, we save. And then we take that money, helping them to do a CRM. We sponsor a school in Cambodia for the lunch for the whole year. That 14,000 US dollar. This is a good case to share. Actually, it's saving money. We don't talk about the big things about environmental protection. Save your money and save my work. And at the end, it's a good cycle. We save that money, we go back to the community. So, and the other things, we talk about recycled poly bag. Since I'm doing supply chain management, we discover a lot of existing process we might change. We can help. So one of it is very quantitative measure. We put single poly bag, just we mentioned, we have a lot of B2B, but you don't see this poly bag. And at the end, in United States or a lot of countries, to dispose of this poly bag, you still have to pay. I think we have to pay in Hong Kong soon, right, for your disposal. So from this little calculation, we save some. But if you, let's say like H&M, or I don't know how H&M do the shipment because we don't take their orders, but most of the customer right now, not all, quite discouraging. Sometimes okay, Peter, it's just a little saving. But we talk about a lot of things, but we save really quantitative measure with money too. So this is the data we have from 6 to 1 inside poly bag. And okay, and because of the DC of a lot of clients, the DC is made 20 years ago. So they want to pre-pack. So how we ship? We ourselves in the factory, we call them pizza box. Because in the factory, we will see, we load this pizza box to a 20-foot and 40-foot containers. So instead of our suggestion, but this is not success. I talked to a lot of my clients, can you change, to this, and you save this cost. But they told me, I'm sorry, Peter, because our DC, have planned to handle like this. And all our operation manual is operating like this. So we cannot change. We don't want to change. So this is quite frustration because we know in a factory, I try to pull out some budget to help our factory to use clean energy. So this is an investment. For the manufacturer, we may have to suffer for 3 years by no profit to get back the ROI. Right? But I think this is a both way. So because we talk about net zero mission to plan about it, it's very difficult. If the whole supply chain don't change, only one party, I don't think we can reach our net zero goal. So this is from 6 pieces, and this is also quantitative to measure this. Oh, another thing is one of our clients, this is really bad. They still ship the hangers together with the garments. But I understand to get enough manpower to hand the garment, is not easy at all. But like 30 years ago, even I have production in Sri Lanka. This is the worst case because I have to ship the hangers from China to Sri Lanka. and then the Sri Lanka shipped back the merchandise after packed to USA, and somebody told me, Peter, no worry, you know, our hangers is recycled. Firstly, I don't trust 100% because it's just very costly. And secondly, you know, during the recycle process, about all the transportation handling, it costs you more. So I think we should use less, or try to replace, or try to rethink about the retail model, how you work on it. I think people, you know, want to see that. But in our industry, right now, because the economy is not great, I don't think a lot of brand and retailers I talk with, they have the budget. So I think, Karen, we think about a lot of, we call that greenwashing. You know, they just propose, or internally we talk about, this is a project, not a product. You know, like a lot of proposal they did, they try for one, is a proof of concept or a proof of work, but it's not down the road make the change. So just a little reflection to everyone. So you can see with the hangers, even with the hanger, we still ship, but can you put more clothes, pieces, and we can make a quantitative change by saving the freight costs. So I'm also joining the Karen's the LCMP project. So we do some transferring. I learned from Wildlife Funding about the project. From the paper, we calculate the CO2 carbon emission, and then this is the saving. It's very quantitative. So I just share a little bit about not everything need to be think big, just to rethink about our practice, maybe we can save more. Thank you.
So it's time for us to have a small panel discussions, and then for the floor, you can also start thinking of questions. I'm sure that is very informative from different speakers, and then if you have any questions, we'll have time to get the speakers to answer to it. So may I invite Angus, Ken, and Peter to be on the floor, and then we can have a short discussions. So we have all expressed our views on whether it's from the packaging, the supply standpoint, or from a lot of experience from Peter dealing with the brands. And so far, you don't seem to have a lot of success, right?
Yes. Yes. I always use that word greenwashing. And even on the finance part, sort of promoting sustainable finance. I talked with the financier asking them, what is the proposal? But it's very minimal. I mean, it's a really first stage. So from here we want to promote the incentive.
Yeah. So Angus, you interview a lot of different brand owners. Do you have any insights for the floor as well as to us as a panelist? What's happening? Why are they the brands? They are cost saving, they are more environmentally friendly, and then the consumers really like to be more sustainable. So what's the challenges within a brand company that they don't take it from a project to actually system to change?
I think, first of all, the first thing top of mind for the brands will be the cost of production. They are very concerned about even a small increase in the unit cost, because this will translate to a very large impact if they're producing it on an industrial scale level. But I really find it inspiring from Peter's presentation earlier that he's trying to convince his clients and customers actually you can achieve the same environmental and economic benefits if you are doing it in a greener manner. So I think one important thing will be the communication, how you are going to communicate with your suppliers to try to encourage them to do it together. And also, ultimately, I believe that it should be the mindset of all the stakeholders, and it takes time for them to gradually become more open-minded to this kind of greener practice.
Ken, do you have any insight?
Yeah, I also totally agree with Angus and Peter. I think every time when we, in our industry, every time when it comes new sustainable solution, cost always comes first. Because, just like Angus said, a small increase in the cost to increase will be a big concern for the customer. But sometimes it's a chicken and egg question, right? For example, when we have a new environmental solution, because very few brands will use it at the very beginning, so people are just waiting for each other. But if we really find out, for example, just like what I mentioned in my presentation, water soluble bag is actually a very good product because it can be fully biodegradable in the water and also in the soil. So if, for example, more and more brands not putting cost on the first priority, then I'm sure the whole cost will go significantly down when more people get to use it, and it really will affect positively to our environment.
But the case studies that Peter shared with us just now is not talking about you need to have weight things to eat away new materials. It's simply about the design change, the system change, and then Peter also shared with us that there are some cost savings. So I just don't understand. Probably you are not contacting the right parties because there's so many different departments.
You are exactly right. Because a lot of brands, they have different departments. When we talk about compliance like 20 years ago, we talk to the compliance team. But they consider a lot, like all this compliance fulfillment is like a CRM. They go for the CRM, customer relationship management. Then, of course, we talk to the sourcing. They place order with us. They only concern one thing, is their margin. So when you hit the margin, it's okay. And of course, let's say cost saving, like packaging. It's nothing, they told me, Peter, I'm sorry. This is out of my control. It's a whole logistic, warehousing is a big thing. But I told them this is the same thing when I talk about make proposal to the manufacturer. They use clean energy. They need to invest. Okay, even there are some budget, some help, incentive from government, but they still need to invest. But as a brand and retailers, do you consider to invest? In what area, right? The warehousing is one of the major things so we thought about whether globalization or we shall we de-globalization among all these things happen and come to the mindset.
Yeah, I guess if you link that with climate change, you just quote an example that by changing the packaging style, you can ship more products in one container, and then that actually helps save a lot of carbon emissions. And then all the brands, the famous brands, have already committed to Paris Agreement, and then whatever number they committed, whether it's 30% reductions by 2030, or whether they're engaging the suppliers to collectively to reduce the carbon emission. I guess this could be one of the incentive for them to start thinking of changing the system.
I'm also joined the UN Charter of Climate Change Agreement, but I just withdraw because I cannot make my plan. How could I make my plan? Because out of my control, and I'm doing it every day. So we are rethinking because we have to submit the planning for 2030. We cannot. The other thing is, Peter, we can use money to offset the net zero. So that is meaningless then. So this is our conversation. Very sorry. I feel very bad because I'm the one who signed a few years ago during Fashion Summit. But right now, I think I should step up and withdraw from it. Let people ask me why.
It's not a good sign. But at least I guess in the upcoming COP27, we can still hold some side events and then push the brands to come up with a plan. Because the whole idea of having these collaborations is really to have a dialogue between the brands supply and the suppliers and the manufacturers, as well as the shipping companies.
Oh, Karen, don't misunderstand me. I'm not against the UN climate change or all this initiative, but just myself, my industry, our working partners, our ecosystem didn't work. And then we have to think about it. Why I withdraw? If I just offset by, taking carbon credit, it's just a normal company. Why need me to join? Because I joined, I want to share how it's worked, the good things, how it can benefit. But by paying off to offset the credit later on, if it happens, so it's not my thinking like this.
So Ken, you probably supply a lot of the big brands. Do you start hearing from them, ask your factories to provide them with carbon emission data?
Yeah, definitely. I think more and more customers have similar requests, just like what you mentioned. I think it's a good sign. I agree with Peter, there's no perfect solution yet at this moment. But I think one of the very important things is customers. They start to realize this is something we have to do. Yeah, it's not an option, it's a must. So even though there's no perfect packaging solution at this moment, but I'm happy that because the technology is improving day by day. So yeah, I think as long as our customers, the big buyers, they have this concept, it will be our future will be bright.
I offered one of the thinking of extended producers' responsibility, which WWF on an international basis have been advocating such a practice. And actually in Hong Kong, we also work very closely with an organization, the name of Drink Without Waste. And it's actually a pilot study. Of course, it's not about fashion industry, but we're trying it out in the beverage industry. So Angus, I'd like to ask you if you have any views on how difficult or how easy we really collaborate the whole supply chain, all the way from brand owners to consumers, as well as to the back end of the suppliers. And if we really want to organize such a collaborative effort and then share with them or have them hold them responsible for whatever product they first place in the market. I always believe that you place the product into the market and you have the responsibility of either recycle it or to dispose or to manage the waste. So do you think it will get buy-in from the brand owners, or it will get buy-in from the supply chain? Or I'm too naive to have such a thinking?
I think apart from the communication and the mindset part I mentioned earlier in terms of collaboration, one thing I would like to add about the collaboration part is I think everyone wants to see tangible results. And that's why we encourage established incumbent companies to work with young early stage innovators and startups to trial out some innovative solutions. Whether it is the water-soluble bags that we see earlier on can slides, or one of our portfolio companies, which is called Mango Materials. So what they do is that they capture the methane gas from the atmosphere and turn them into biopolymer and become a material called PHA, which can biodegrade basically in all kinds of environments, including oceans and land. So for this kind of novel materials, it's like what we talked about earlier. It's always like a chicken and egg questions. When they first come to the market, these novel materials are quite expensive. But if the large companies are willing to have pilots and collaboration with these young companies, then gradually when they see the tangible results initially, and then their interest level will continue to increase, and hopefully it's like a chain, it's like a funnel that we gradually can direct the energy to the end and work together to the end.
Do you see our government have any roles in improving these issues?
Yes, apart from bottom-up, which means the industry level collaboration, I do think that the top-down influence will play a key role in terms of incentivizing the mass profit, because at the end of the day, I think people still prefer convenience over sustainability when they are having their daily habits. So if there are some perhaps stricter regulations, as we see in the report as well, we believe that there will be gradual changes coming to the world right now.
So Ken, your company is based in Hong Kong, but you do have factories in Southeast Asia. Do you anticipate any government subsidies or any government helping your companies to do innovative research or encourage you to really innovate for the environment?
Unfortunately, I didn't feel support from government. But I think Angus just gave a very good point. I think top-down is definitely very important because we cannot affect our decision quickly. But when there is a law, I mean, for example, in European country, some European government they already launched some law to ban some single-use plastic. So I think this kind of measure, this kind of policy will definitely change the industry significantly, and this will help to help the manufacturers. I mean, not just manufacturers, but also the end buyers, the retailers. Not just look at the profit, but also really look at the sustainability.
Do you have anything to add?
I also heard that, especially in Europe, there is a lot of new regulation and law will set very soon. Especially Germany, I heard that. The retailer and the brand, they have to take full responsibility about their product and supply chain. So this makes a big change because they have to be penalized if somebody sues them. Yes, it's not from the government. As I know, NGO, you can have some finding, and that is the law and regulations now. Before there is none.
Okay, I've asked a lot of questions. I'd like to see if there are any questions from the floor.
Really good panel discussion, thank you. I have a question about the end of use and the landfill. Can we design better products that can be biodegradable in landfill? Or should we stop trying to do biodegradable and sort out landfill completely? For example, plastic bags. We know with the government's tax penalty, usage was reduced like 20% and it's going to go up again. Why not ban plastic bags completely? If we did that, what would happen? How would consumers respond? And do the panel see some benefits in that? But yeah, landfill, I think, is a really big concern.
Maybe I share my views and then Ken can add on it, especially you have a lot of technical expertise. My understanding is that the landfill environment actually are closed, and then you don't have oxygen, you don't have light. So it's not possible for you to really do any biodegradable. When you use biodegradable plastics, you usually need an industrial composter so that you will be able to recover the biomass from the biodegradable plastics. So it's a matter of you choose the right technologies to deal with your end-of-life waste. The government is, I'm not sure whether the consultation process has been over or still on. They're talking about hoping to increase the plastic bag charge from 50 cents to $1 or $2. I guess they already started to understand that because the plastic bag levy has been in the market for over 5 years, I would say, and then consumer get used to, and then 50 cents is not really a a big deal for anyone. So any policy that you introduce in the very beginning, consumer will feel that, okay, there's a change and then I need to adapt that also. But throughout the year, if you don't change it, and then brands started to give away bags, especially when government have changed the regulations that they don't need to take back the plastic levy. It's left with the retailers. So it lost the regulation incentive, I would say, and then it also lost the communication messages to the individual consumers. So that's difficult in a sense that when you first introduce it, the government always say that they need to probably spend more administrative costs to set up the system so that they will receive back the plastic bag levy. Then they don't see it worthy. And you can see all the thinking process, they're not talking about environment, they're not talking about plastic leakage, they're not talking about changing end users' behavior. They're just talking about, oh, it will cost more on the administrative side, so they decided not to do it, and then they decided the levy will leave with the retailer. And when you leave the plastic levy with the retailer, do you think that the retailer will change their behavior? Or do you think that the retailer will invest into their system to help educate the consumers that to use a more sustainable materials? So Ken, do you have anything to add, especially to the very difficult things about biomaterial, biodegradable, compostable?
If you remember earlier in my presentation, I hope you remember that close to 80% of our plastic waste are being buried or even washed into the river and oceans. So I think this is really a big headache and big challenge for all of us, right? So at this moment, unfortunately, there's no any global standard about biodegradable. And I think this is quite a pity because, for example, I remember I received a request from a customer. They want us to use oxo biodegradable polybags to be sold in their countries. But I explained to the customer, this is already banned in Europe. But the customer said, this is actually required by the government because they are selling in the Middle East market. So you can see one polybag, which is already banned in some countries, and in other countries, they are mandatorily required by the government. So this kind of problem we are facing is also creates a lot of unsecure or confused to the big buyers in the market. So no one wants to put the risky on themselves. So I really wish our government and the government, they can have help to sit together and then to set a global standard. So all the supply chain can follow this standard. That's my opinion.
Any other questions?
So through you, Chairman, maybe my question a bit off agenda. I'm Joseph from Cosmetic Association. Sometimes packaging is not really a packaging in our industry. It's a part of the merchandise. Okay, it is nothing to do with the cost. It brings values. So trace to the origins, like consumer. So how would you engage the consumer to, as you just mentioned, the end user, to change their behavior when they come up in the cosmetic shops, they pick up their merchandise, they really think about the real perfume, the fragrance rather than the packaging. So this is our challenge. Thank you.
Do any of the panelists want to answer this question? I do have my views, but I'd like to offer you the...
I have my will. Let's say a lot of brand, a good name. They start with good innovation. Like some years ago, we heard about Everlane, and then we have Tom shoes. You know, they transfer from a cafe, right? But when the scale go up, they change. You know, it seems to me a lot of good things happen. It's like a project base. But once they turn big, they cannot turn into a product, a real brand, or really do the influence because they have to face the reality, commercialization, because we are in a capitalist market, you know, money first. So that's why we promote sustainability, because that 3P we talk about is a balance. We don't go for one side. We still need GDP. We still need to create value for the consumption. So that's why we always, my encouragement is for short term, which I can do, just reduce. And of course, we really need some new brand. And a consumer, customer, you know, engagement. Like let my spare button campaign is a CRM, and let the consumer engage. I even think about, talk to one of my customer, you know, if they challenge me, hey Peter, why, if they really miss the button, then tell them to come back, and you give them a gift because you have a little mistake. I think probably we do something is a consumer engagement, how we can reward the consumer. You know, frankly speaking, I'm working on it. We are doing some loyalty program, you know, to give them reward if they bring back something or if they do something. I mean, the consumer engagement is very important because all the brand and retailers, you're actually serving the consumer, serving the consumption, and creating value. But that value have to be paid off in a good way. Yes.
Yeah, I do agree with Peter's wordings that sustainable is, I think, is doing good environmentally and also economically. So apart from the brands that you mentioned, we also noticed a very good example is Patagonia. It's still making money and still sticking with its original principles. But maybe unfortunately, when a company ultimately scales to a certain level, it has to reconsider the market size of its customers. Is the company still focusing on the more conscious consumers, or will they change their strategy to serve a bigger size market? So I think it takes time to develop a good mindset, and I personally would like to try your app after it is a launch, actually.
I guess in today's world, especially when everyone can use their social media, we as a consumers need to voice out more proactively and then tell the brands and tell your suppliers that what we want. I heard from a lot of younger generations that they already leave the big brands. They don't trust the bigger brands, and then they start to adopt another type of consuming habits. Like a lot of them are buying from second-hand shops. And I guess if the big brands, they don't want to lose the younger generation, whether it's their customers or as their employee, I guess they need to truly transform that on an individual, sustainable or CRM projects to really embrace it into their whole system. And then as an employee in an NGO, of course, we always like to say that you don't have a second planet. And then you can continue polluting it, and then eventually all the pollutants are getting back to ourselves. It's hurting our health, it's hurting our daily lives. We don't live as happy as before. Any other questions?
I think I'd like to add that actually, for me personally, I think we don't need to be wasteful or to use a lot to make a beautiful product. We can use very sustainable materials and less of it to still make something beautiful with design. But my question, I guess, is more towards Peter. I'd like to know, have you ever enforced onto any of your customers or your brands to say to them, for example, like, as a manufacturer, we've taken up these responsibilities. We're only going to use biodegradable bags or compostable bags. And have they ever said to you, like, no, we just cannot accept it, like, we must use poly bags? Because I've had customers that said that to me. Sorry, I was just saying, like, have you ever said to any of your brands or customers that, like, as a manufacturer, we're a responsible manufacturer, and in our supplying business, we can only use biodegradable or compostable bags. We cannot use poly bags. That's just in our practice. I'm wondering, have you ever tried to say that to your customers, and has anybody ever come back to you and say, no, we can't do that, we have to use our poly bags? Just because that's happened to me.
No, I think a lot of, from the sourcing side, from the common practice, I think a lot of retailers is still using polybag, but of course, some of them, maybe, let's say a department store, maybe they have a few brands, they are using some new packaging, but not all, frankly speaking, as I know. Maybe, Angus, you can, do you know?
Yes. Actually, we noticed that some companies, they would like to try paper packaging, but unfortunately, the performance of paper packaging is still not as good as plastic packaging, because sometimes you still want waterproof and things like that. So it's always a struggle in terms of how you are choosing the materials. And I think perhaps apart from reducing the overall amount of these kinds of polyester-based materials, we can also tackle it from a design perspective to how to make it better and try to minimize as much as possible.
And also from the disposal, because I go to really visit the DC, distribution center in the United States of some of our clients. They have to, even the shop, they have to collect back the poly bag, which they're supposed to dump off. So this is, the whole recycle channel. I think they have to dispose of it, where they go. Of course, this is carbon emission too, because recycle process also create carbon emission if we talk about measure in that way. But still, there is a good solution. That's why my concept is try to reduce first. Because I don't encourage that much to use the, recycled poly bag, because I can see they can save a lot by just reducing or changing the way they handle things from the operation. So it's very simple. So I'm using this, hey, save money.
Hello, I'm Maggie Cheng from Pinnacle Workshop Limited, based in Hong Kong. My personal opinion is sustainable is a lifestyle and is also an obligation. So it's not just one part responsibility to create something and to learn something. And as I'm part of the industrial, I totally agree with you, Ken. It's a big kiosk of the raw material recognition. Look into a lot of big brands, small brands, local brands, they talk about polybag. What are they? How to become a sustainable materials. A big chain of choices, but one country, they banned it, and the other country, they say they accept it. And I see the worst case is, if I want to get one polybag to a lab house for lab testing, they need to charge 30 to 40,000. So this is a gameplay and how we could confront it. I think this is very, very big kiosk at the moment. Thank you.
I guess part of it is because I mentioned it many times already, it's about the end-of-life treatment. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing, maybe in one country they do have the treatment or equipment or the capacity to take care of some type of products, some type of packaging, and that's why that country may continue be able to accept it, while in other countries, they may use another method or another way to treat their waste, and they could end up in, say, not allowing this kind of poly bags or paper bags or whatsoever. So that could be the reason. And then we need to accept it because we are not in a standardized world, and then it will be no fun if every countries are just the same, right? So everyone is different, and then every country has some kind of difference. So doing business, I know that whether it's brand owners or manufacturers, you like to have one standard and then ship it all to every other countries. But the reality is we have so many different countries. We have over 200 countries in the world, and then each of them have different lifestyle, each of them have different history, each of them have different culture. So we need to respect that. And that's why in the very beginning, in my own presentation, I said that when business brand owner, when they develop new market, when they do the business development, they send the whole team of marketing, business development, finance team to go into the market to understand the culture, to come up with a proposal how they can maximize profit before they really enter into the market. And I'm just very humbling asking them to add one criteria when they really want to ship products from another countries to a new market. Would they please also prepared to understand the method that market is dealing with, whether they have kind of capacity or capability of recycling or landfilling or whatsoever your shipped product, because it's you who first place put the product into that market or into that country. Any more questions? I guess it's a very good discussions, and then you can definitely stay behind and then talk personally with the panel speaker. They are all very experienced and then in the industry and very, very responsible and hope to do well in the sustainability. With that, I end this panel discussions. Thank you very much for attending, and then have a good afternoon.